Here now with reaction to all of this is, of course, Louisiana Senator John Kennedy. He's up for re-election. We are enthusiastically supporting that re-election. I think the good people of Louisiana know that he's done a good job for them. Senator, welcome back. Great to have you.
Thank you, Sean. First, you mentioned electric vehicles. If electric vehicles are so swell, why does government have to pay people to drive them? Food for thought. Number two, you mentioned...
I wish I thought of that. That's a great line.
Well, it's true if you think about it. Number two, you mentioned inflation. Inflation was made in Washington. Since President Biden was inaugurated 540 days ago, prices are up 13.2%. Here's another way of looking at that. A dollar, this buck, is now worth in purchasing power about 87, maybe 88 cents. So what is President Biden doing about it? You might be thinking, you know, people make mistakes. What's he going to do about it? What's he doing about it? Well, the president has decided to drink himself sober. First, he passed a $750 billion so-called Inflation Reduction Act, which takes $300 billion in higher taxes out of the pockets of the American people when the economy is slowing, prices are rising, and 401ks are crashing. And he gives that $300 billion of taxpayer money to the Green New Deal industrial complex, which will probably spend it in a way that causes energy prices to go up without reducing world temperatures a scintilla of a degree because China and India refuse to stop emitting CO2. And then for his second trick, the president decided to spend $1 trillion to forgive student debt. Now, we already had a plan to repay student debt. It's called a job, and it was working just fine.
You're on your A game. You are on your A game. I'm not interrupting.
But if you look at this from 35,000 feet, I think this is obvious, and that's why I say that President Biden is inflation's best friend. Inflation loves President Biden. Inflation loves President Biden like the devil loves sin. And I don't see where they've done anything whatsoever except sing folk songs to try to stop it ravaging the American people.
You know, why the celebration on a day when inflation went up yet again, Senator? And if we use the same methodology that they used in the 1980s to calculate inflation numbers, we'd be at 16%. That's how bad it really is. They just have twice now adjusted the methodology of how they calculate that. So it's that bad. And then we've got this other little problem. Well, we're going to pay off student debt that people willingly took on, and then we're going to advise our brave men and women in the military how to best get on food stamps. Maybe the alternative would be to take the $1 trillion in student debt forgiveness and maybe give it to the military so that they can afford to pay for the food themselves. What do you think?
Well, of course, I think you're right, Sean, but not to put too fine a point on it, but the president, he's not really forgiving student debt. Somebody's got to pay for it. He's just transferring it from the people who owe it, the college elite, to the people who don't owe it, working class Americans. But the way the president has handled the economy, his social and economic policies, how can I put this? Your aunt's Facebook page has more credibility with the American people than President Biden does when it comes to the economy. And I think voters are going to go medieval on him. I'm not going to mince any words. This inflation was made in Washington in large part by President Biden's socioeconomic policies. And, you know, I don't mean to speak ill of the president, but if the shoe fits, wear it, Cinderella. I mean, his policies cause this.
I think this is probably your best appearance. Always glad to have you on the program. Thank you for being with us. All right, now we